retook it. Well, y'all know we on the Striving Readers, and that's one of the instruments that they use to measure our progress. And also, for you all that don't know, we purchased a program called Read 180, and Read 180 is a reading program to help students that's having a difficult time reading or have low Lexile scores. It's supposed to help increase their reading and bring up their Lexile scores. At the Read 180 training, the 600 was the cutoff that the lady suggested, that we look at students with 600 or below as for our students to select to go into the Read 180 class. So the first time we did the SRI, we had 93 students with a 600 and below. So of course, you know that wasn't gonna work. So then I met with each grade level. We had 10, I met with 10 12th graders, 13 11th graders, 19 10th graders, and 51 9th graders that had, that was part of that 93, was under 600. Talked to them about the program, said some things to them, and we retested them. And as you can see, for the 12th grade, we went from 10 to 2, from the 11th grade, we went from 13 to 3, and the 10th grade went from 19 to 8, and in the 9th grade, we went from 51 to 17. So that's exactly 30 students that will, I've got to meet with Dr. Hinton on Wednesday concerning these results, but right now we have 30 students that's supposed to be, according to this, that are candidates for the Read 180. Once I meet with her, because we had some that was a little bit closer to 600, so once I meet with her, we'll see where they fall as far as the Read 180. We do have 30 licenses, so that worked out pretty good. And this does not include our the students, our special ed, because they're on a whole different type of thing to get their reading up. So we're down to 30, and we do have 30 licenses for Read 180. So a little bit of, that just shows you with a little bit of encouragement, as you can see what the numbers were, and with a little bit of encouragement, they retook it and brought those numbers down. For the results on our SRI screener, below level, in our 9th grade, we had 113, again 17 under 600, with 10 special ed under 600. That's supposed to be proficient, so that's green, and that's supposed to be basic. So we had 25 proficient 9th graders, 70 basic, and 19 above grade level expectations. You can see the numbers for the 10th graders, 85 below grade level, again 8 under 600, 5 special ed, 54 proficient, 48 basic, and 12 above grade level expectations. And then the 11th graders, 80 below, 3 was under 600, 3 special ed, 44 proficient, 64 basic, and then 8 above a grade level. And then our 12th graders, 62 below, 2 under 16, 0 special ed, 47 was proficient, 57 was basic, and then we had 8 above grade level. And of course, the next time we will give it is in January and May. So based on our literacy initiative and based on our reading strategies, we expect these numbers to decrease, these numbers to increase, and of course these numbers to increase. So we'll do another SRI screener in January, and then a final one in May. Any questions on SRI information? Okay, and then there'll be a whole different these are just the Read 180 numbers that I talked to before. 17, 8, 3, and 2 to get us our 30 kids. And of course, in January, they'll be reassessed, and in May, they'll be reassessed. So that's the data that we're using to track and to pick our Read 180 students. All right, any questions on that? Okay. All right, we got SACs creeping up on us. Just as this is kind of the different committees. I send that out to everybody. Just be ready to, again, just be ready to lend a helping hand. It's like, it's kind of like in church. You know, you have a lot of members, but sometimes if you're not careful, only a handful of members are doing the work. Now that it's getting close, you need to make yourself available. So if you're called on, you're able to lend a hand when SACs as needed. Any chairman, Ms. Robinson, anybody got anything to add to that?
Not that I know of. I know that we'll be meeting on Friday, department heads. We'll be meeting on Friday to go over our standards and check our artifacts.
Okay. All right, this is the, I sent this out to everybody as well. This is the Elliott report. If you haven't had an opportunity to look at it, you need to look at it. When they do their SACs walkthrough, this is the sheet that they're going to be, this is the sheet that they're going to use. So when they come into your room, and you can see it's broken up in learning environment, high expectations, supportive environment, those are the categories, progress monitoring and feedback, well-managed learning environment. And the list goes equitable learning environment, high expectation learning environment. They got rubrics is a supportive, active learning environment, progressive monitoring and feedback, well-managed. So I sent that report to everybody. Please, please look at it. That's exactly what they're going to be looking for. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Grant, who will they interview when they do interviews?
They'll just pick random. They'll pick random people. They'll interview teachers. They'll interview students. They'll interview some of our student council members. They'll interview our school council members. Just parents.
So that, and as a chair, that's why it's kind of important that the members be at the meeting, so that if they ask you a question about the standard you're on, you are well versed in how to answer their question.
That's exactly right. And we cannot, y'all gotta remember, this is the most important thing that we do, because it affects our what? Accreditation. And if we're not accredited, what does that mean? What does that mean if we lose our accreditation? We lose funding, and the paper that that diploma is written on don't mean nothing. And if you're not accredited, guess what? They can't, we talk about move on when ready, they'll be stuck. They can't move nowhere without accreditation. We don't even want to go on probation. We don't want to do any of that. So please, if you're on these committees, please get with your committee chairs and do what you need to do. And that's well put, like Ms. Williams said, you don't want to be asked a question and you stand there talking about, and I'm telling you, y'all know how it works. The main one that hadn't been, it's kind of like on the news. When they interview, they find the joker with no teeth, that can't hardly talk, to get an interview to. And they're going to do the same thing. They're going to find a person who has not been to a meeting, and that's the very person they're going to pick to interview. Okay? And that's very important. And I'll be meeting with like individual members and things like that to make sure that we're where we need to be on this SACs thing. So please, I sent everybody out the task and standard sheet, and I sent everybody out the Elliott report in your emails. So please look at that, and this is what they're gonna be looking for, okay? And these people, you gotta understand, these people are educated folks. They know when they come in your class and all of a sudden they're here that day and you decide to do something different or act a different way, guess who they're gonna talk to? The student. You know, right on, hey young man, how long y'all been doing this? You know what students say?
Students will tell.
They'll tell on you.
They'll tell.
I don't know why we doing this today. We ain't did this all year long. So this ought to be for us, it ought to be the way we do business. So please look at these things, and this should be no surprise to us. This is the way we do business, y'all. We always talk about all of this stuff that's on the report. So familiarize yourself with it. Those are the things you're looking for. Please go ahead and start. If you haven't, if you're late to the game, go ahead and start these things. And we all know, first student they talk to is Alan Gray, who's been absent 20 days, hasn't been to school. Y'all know, they're not going to talk to Matthew Clemens, who's been here every day and making 100. They're going to pick on Alan Gray that's sitting in the back of the class and want to see if he knows what's going on. And old Alan going to tell it. Especially if it's one of these teachers that I want to kind of get back at anyway, I'm going to go ahead and tell it. So make sure that you're familiar with this Elliott report and make sure that that we're doing these things. And like I said, I've sent that out to everyone. All right, last week, Ms. Gilbert met with the department chairs and went over the teacher data tracking sheets. I think somewhere in the communications, people thought that all this stuff had to be in by September the 30th, and it just sent out almost a panic. So I just want to go over these tracking sheets and go over, so hopefully we can make you feel a little bit better. You saw an example of the one I filled out. That was a tracking sheet for the whole school. And what I did is I got the SRI data, which I will send it out to all of you all, and then based on this sheet, I just count 1, 2, 3, and plug the stuff in. And that's all you have to do in your class. I would just take a highlighter, the tracking sheets. We can Ms. Brantley sent them to me from high to low, and it was color coded, and it was alphabetical order. It had all the kids that were above grade expectation, like in a dark green, and they were in alphabetical order right there together. It sent the kids that were meet grade, which were proficient in basic. Proficient was in a light green, and basic was in a yellow. They're all kids that met that. They're in alphabetical order. And then the kids that's below grade level expectations, they got those red boxes by them, and they're all in alphabetical order. So we're going to send you that report. What I would do is just go through, it's in alphabetical order, highlight my kids, and just plug in the number. Just plug in the number. Just like the example, I know we got some that came in off of duty. That's basically all I did right there.
So we don't have to put names?
What we'll do on those names, we'll just attach a report to it. And so if we need to see names, we can look at the report. Okay?
Highlighting them?
Yeah, all we got to do is plug in the numbers. Don't worry about putting names on each individual person. Okay? All right? And then what has to happen on that is, and that's all I did, y'all. I just got that, and I'm going to send that report to y'all, and we can just plug it in. Okay? So that's all it's due as far as your SRI. Don't worry about names, just plug in the number. And it don't have to be as
And right here, y'all see all I did was took the, and you don't have to do the highlight, I just did that. Those are the proficient with the P, and those are the basic that I had right there, okay? Of course, above, and you don't have to worry about all that. The only number you want is that number right there. Don't worry about that under 6, you don't have to worry about that. We just want that number right there, okay? All right? And then read 180, you don't have to do anything in that. That's later on for the read 180. Okay? So that's the SRI screener. Don't worry about the read 180 report. SLO data, of course, that's in April and May. We don't have to worry about that till April and May. And hopefully we'll have that computer program done. We know how we enter that stuff into that database. So hopefully we'll have all that done and you can just pull the information right off of that. But we don't have to worry about that till April or May. That's our SLO results, okay? Again, all we gotta do is plug in numbers. All right, if we wanna know names, we'll just print a report and that's where we'll get the names from, okay? So we'll just plug in numbers. And hopefully the database that we put all this information in will give us all the information we need for that, okay? But again, that's not till April and May. SLOs again. All right, academic progress. Students not meeting course expectation. If you don't fail them, if we formatively assess and we summatively assess, then those will be zeros. Okay, again, now, this requires a list of names. Okay, this is the one that requires a list of names. So at the end of the first 9 weeks, we will have what we call a grade distribution sheet. And on the grade distribution sheet, it will tell you, y'all know how many A's, B's, C's, and F's that you have. It'll give you your number, okay? You just look at that number. If it's 5 kids, then you just put 5 kids right there. But we'll get you the grade distribution sheet, and it'll give you how many A's, B's, or whatever that you have. And these are kids not meeting course expectations. So those are kids that fail. Okay, that's all that is. Okay. So that's their academic progress. Any questions so far? Anybody? Okay. Now, response to interventions. That's the RTI. That's the Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. That's Miss Bryson. She has our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. Tier 1 is the biggest number. Am I right? Which is students. When you go to Tier 2, it shouldn't be more than what percentage of students?
10 to 15%.
10 to 15%. So that's going to be a small number of kids. But she knows our Tier 2 and she knows our Tier 3 students. Okay? So what we'll do is that'll be we'll figure out a way to get y'all that information, or we can get that list out. But these are just the students that are in Tier 2 and Tier 3. That's all that is. And Ms. Bryson has that. She got it right there. And that's all we need right there. So what we'll do is we'll just get that. I'll get that list, and then I'll put it in my overall report. Okay. But it's a small list, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So that's a very small list of students. So that won't have an effect on you at all. Okay. How many kids you got on there in Tier 2, for an example?
Let's see, in Tier 2, I have 5 12th graders, 5 11th graders, 10 10th graders, and 12 9th graders.
There you go. And how many in Tier 3?
Tier 3, 0 12th graders, 2 11th graders, 4 10th graders, and 12 9th graders.
There you go. Okay? So that's not a lot of information at all. And some of y'all with them small numbers, you're not gonna have anything to put in there. the end of the year, those are students that have failed, okay? Retention totals, that's all that is. And it's in our students with disabilities and our black males, so it's only really asking for 2 groups in retention totals. So if they all pass, that don't affect you, okay? And if they don't, hopefully, our overall failure rate for the last, I know 7 years hasn't been above 5%. So y'all are doing a great job of getting these kids what they need and reteaching and retesting and formatively assessing them and getting them where they need to be. So that only affects the people that affect those categories. Of course, our special ed will take care of this one, and then teachers will take care of that one, and I guarantee you some of this will be probably some of the same kids. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, on attendance, on staff attendance, on our 9-week counseling. Okay, this is the information we'll give you at your 9 weeks. We'll give you your attendance. We even break it down to personal 6 staff development. You'll get that each 9 weeks. You'll get those numbers from us. Your sign-in data on your grade distribution and your percentage of failures. We'll tell you how many discipline referrals you've written, and then we'll just check your hall pass, and then of course we'll check your, but what I'm saying is most of the information remaining is going to come off that sheet, and we're going to give it to you. Okay? Any questions so far? Student attendance, we'll pull that from, we just have Ms. Moy run a report, and that's where we get that information from. On student attendance, we'll just run a report. We'll say how many 2 to 6, and then we'll say how many 6+ days, and then we'll plug those numbers in. Okay, on that information. Now, if they want it by teacher, what we'll do is just run a list, give it to you, you just pull your kids off, all that'll be in alphabetical order. You just pull your kids off, and you just plug in a number. Don't worry about the whole list of names and who they are. They want a list of names and who they are, that'll come on my report. Because I have to consolidate all of this, and then I have to do a report. So they want names, I can pull that on my report. So I can pull the names. Okay, all we need from you is numbers. Okay, we'll give you the number of referrals. And then it'll be broke down into students with disabilities and black males. Number of student missing days due to out-of-school suspension, we'll pull that down from the discipline. And then I already have the total number of referrals from 2014 to 2015. And again, all we're gonna do is plug in numbers. If they want names, that'll come through my report. Okay? Any questions? Now, we talking about referrals, y'all. We're not talking about 1 hours. We're not talking about dress code. All we talking about is the big sheet, okay? We're not talking about 1 hours, dress code, all the other little things we have. We just talking about the big sheet referrals, the big referrals. That's what we're talking about, okay? Well, that's just going through the year. All right, that's it. Any questions on the data that we're tracking, we're responsible for as teachers? Like I said, all that rolls into, that's you all's. And all that rolls into mine. Okay, this is mine right here. Basically the same thing. But see, mine is broken down by departments. And then the academic progress by content area. And then each 9 week and stuff like that. So that's mine. So mine is all of it. After school course recovery, attendance, 0 to 5 days, 6 to 10 days, 10+ days. That's staff and then student attendance. Total number of referrals and all that. So that's my report. So my report, if we need names, then I'll do the names. Okay, I'll do the individual names. Okay? So basically all we need from you guys is just numbers for your class that 9 weeks. And it's spread out. So it's not, and I'm sorry for when it was delivered, the disconnect, I don't know where that came from. Like on Wednesday, the SRI report that's due on the 30th, I've showed you part of that. I already have that, I already know the numbers, I already know the names, and all of that kind of stuff. So we don't really have anything until the first 9 week stuff is due. Okay? So we feel a little bit better about this whole data process. Okay. That's why I wanted to kind of meet with us as a group and talk about it and discuss and answer any questions that we may have on this data thing. All right, any questions? All right. Okay, we started Hawk Time this week. If you don't know, there's your days. I know math was today, science is tomorrow, English and Spanish, social studies, CTA, fine arts, and PE. Okay? I think I sent this out to everybody. If not, I will.
You need to.
Okay, I'll send it out to everybody. I think I sent it to the department. I sent it to somebody. I sent it to somebody. Might have been department chairs. It's in that email where I had literacy, Hawk Time, and I sent about 3, but that's no problem. When I go back, I'll send that out to everybody. Okay, so that's our extended increased learning time by Hawk Time, which started this week. Any questions on that? All right. Any concerns or comments while we're here? Okay, it's a quiet group, Ms. Spikes. Don't forget, let's keep formatively assessing our students so that we'll know where they are and we'll know when they're ready for that summative assessment. Of course, that's nothing new. It's something I need to talk to our new teachers about and make sure that they understand our process on that. I did send out a thing to department chairs requesting how, or for more information about when we reteach and retest the student, what's the highest grade that we give. And I've got kind of I've got 2 or 3 responses, and we need to all get on the same page on that. We need to all get on the same page as far as when we reteach and retest. Now, one thing I will say, and this is just an executive decision right here. If you give an assessment and your class average is low, you give an assessment and your whole class average is low, that means there's a disconnect from what we're saying to them and what they're receiving. And we retest on that, then they get maximum points. Okay, they get maximum points because there was a disconnect somewhere, some kind of way. If your whole class average is low, around 70, 72, somewhere around there, then there's a disconnect somewhere. Now, if your class average is high, and you got a couple of students that missed it or whatever, then you reteach, retest, they come to tutoring, we give it to them, then whatever we decide is the maximum amount of points they can get, and I don't have an issue with that. And I'm gonna put this in writing so everybody, so we all be on the same page. Now, I've received, probably the average I've received so far, some of y'all hadn't heard from, but the highest, the average points allowed that I received getting back was 8. That's kind of, everybody that gave me feedback said, when they reteach and they retest a student, then the highest they can receive is an 8. So y'all give me some feedback on that. Is that where we want to be? Everybody in agreement with 8? All right, why not, Mr. Ferry?
I think it's 70.
I think 70.
Why? Why
That's
70?
not fair to the ones who passed it the first time. I mean, the kid does what he's supposed to do, he or she does what they're supposed to do, and pass the test.
A lot of the ones, like he's saying, they're the ones that goof off and cause problems in the class, and you're punishing the ones that do what they're supposed to be doing. If you give those kids a B versus the kid that did what he's supposed to the first time.
Maybe like a 77 or 76, but consistent.
All right, okay, let's go away. Okay, that's the easy answer. The kid that don't do what they supposed to. What about the kid that do what they supposed to? Because I know for a fact, when we got honor classes and we give AP classes, I know for a fact we get them full grade. Put your feet in. I know I'm stepping on toes, but I know for a fact in some of our AP classes and some of our honors classes, when we reteach, I'm not saying yours.
Okay.
That's why we need to get on the same page. I know for a fact, and I'll go a little closer. It depends on whose child it is. Uh-oh.
I'm my class.
Uh-oh. Put your feet in. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Gray, I got this idea from another teacher, and I thought that it was fair, and that's what I used when I did a retest a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I took the first grade, and then I let them retake the test and took the second grade that they made and averaged the two together. But don't like that.
All right, what's the second test?
They make an 80, but they make a 40, and you average that together.
Right,
And they still don't pass.
Right. right. Yes, sir.
We made the argument, we were sitting there going both ways, and that was certainly one of the arguments about the kid making up. Because the odds are, the person who's retesting, this is not always the case, but it could be the case that if you didn't do well on the test because you just flat out didn't listen, didn't read what you were supposed to, or that, it wasn't because you didn't get it, it's because you were slacked off and didn't do anything. And that being the case, we argued that if that kid got to retake it, the reason we went against the 70 was because that means that you would have to make a perfect score just to pass. You'd have, and the odds that you would make a perfect score are probably going to be slim anyway.
What do you mean saying if they make, so if they don't
Like
make 100, they can't make 70?
if you made 70 your limit, that means the student retaking would have to make a perfect score just to make the 70.
No.
If 70 is the highest grade you can make on retest. Is that not correct?
Are you talking about averaging the two together?
No, I was talking about the original plan with the 70. We were talking about all.
I'm just saying, that's the highest you can make, is a 70.
That's what I know, but you have to make a perfect score to make 70.
That's if you start with a 70 and you
Yeah.
count, you're counting 70 as 100 and
Right. I don't do that.
deducting from a 70. That wasn't the way I was used to do it.
So,
I grade it. I grade it just like I graded the first one. And if it's a 65, I write a 65. If it's a 70, I write a 70. If it's an 85, I write an 85 and put a line through it, say retest and put a 70.
Yeah, and I note that in,
that negates the fact of what you made on it, it's a 70.
Well, the 70 is better than the 60.
I understand, but still that negates the fact that 70 is the highest.
but they had the chance to do that the first time.
Well, remember, now, don't lose the fact that you're here for the kids now. Go ahead. Because every student don't fall into the category of they just didn't try. Every student here don't fall into that category.
Okay, I'm just speaking personally for myself. Whenever I come to a retest, it's always the student that was concerned about their grade anyway. They tried their best, or maybe they didn't have a good day, because some people are not good test takers or that type of thing. And I can count on one hand, which is 0, any student that just was not ready, didn't study, that came and do a retest. They didn't come, they didn't show up. All the students that ever showed up for me last year up until this point were those who were concerned about their grades. And those are the kids that I dealt with. Now, me personally, you could say I'm wrong, but I just felt like since those were the kids, they took that initiative and they wanted to come and retest, they studied, they got the tutoring, and they did all of that, I just graded like it's a regular test, and whatever they make with it, I take the higher of the two. Now, that's just me, but whatever we agree upon, then I'll go with that.
Right,
But
and that's
I'm
why
just
we
saying
need to,
that's
that's why
what
we
I'm
need
saying.
to agree to it.
Okay.
Sir?
When I was at, I'm not in your position, but when I was at South Aiken, what we did was, the assessment was to be, to judge what they've learned to that point.
Formative, that's right.
So that second retest, if they scored a 90, that's what they've learned to that point. So we gave that higher grade.
Okay, well, that's another argument, Ms. Doc.
When you give a child a 70 as the highest grade, it's putting them at a disadvantage. It really doesn't motivate them to, try a little bit harder in most cases. This is just for the normal, students who
Right.
may have had that and who may get expect.
Right.
But if you give them an 80 after they're gonna retest, that gives a little bit more incentive for them to do a little better. And then also, when you are giving the retest, I always ask those ones who made that 90, who may want to make that 100. I ask them personally, do you want to redo it? There are some that will, and if they make less, oh well, they're going to get the higher grade. Because I'm not going to penalize them, because they did it this time. But in most cases, those, students who want to make that A+, they'll say yes. Those ones who have an 85 and they're satisfied with it, they'll say, no, I'm set. But I make sure that I ask them one-on-one.
So that's the one when you say it's not fair.
Yeah.
You give the kids that a higher opportunity to take it again as well.
Yes. In most cases, if they got their 8,
They'll leave it alone. Yes, ma'am.
When you're retesting, are you given the same assessment, or are you just testing on the same standard? So are you giving them the exact same test that they took the first time, or is it a different version of the test?
Well, that's a question. Are we
Yes.
giving the same test, or are we giving a different version of the test?
I'm looking at my data.
Same material.
It's the same.
Same material,
Same
different test.
material.
Same material,
It's
different
the same
test.
material.
Okay, same material, different test. Okay. So what we have to agree on is come up with a way of what we want that grade to be, and if we want to give the option in there, because I want us all to be on the same page. I can go ahead and tell you, we ain't gonna agree with it, but whatever the consensus is, that's what we're gonna go with. With the, with leaving me with administrative powers. Just want to throw that in there. All right, so I've heard from a couple of departments, and from the 2 departments I did hear from, they said they retested and gave them an 8. The highest they could make was an 8. And we've heard from a couple, Mr. Ferris and Mr. Rash, who said a 70. So the first part is what's going to be the highest they can make? 80, 85, 70, 75. All right, so let's by show of hands, 70. All right. Put it up. Okay. 70, okay. 80. Okay. All right, those of y'all that's not voting, 85?
I've gotten
Yeah,
that was the big I may decide today, because I'm thinking of
I'd like to, I need to get my thoughts together before I make my vote.
Okay, so right now, 80 was the majority. So as of right now, the lowest they can make is an 80. You have something, Ms. Spike?
No, I just have a disconnect, that was it. So we just threw out the other one, this is what we decided on.
Throughout which one?
The one where they test and they just get a new grade. We threw out that option.
Which option?
Like, can they get 100?
Maximum.
Yeah.
They get the maximum?
Now, and that's what let's go one step at a time.
Okay, that's what I'm asking, that's all
All right,
I'm
go ahead,
saying,
Ms.
voting
Miller.
here.
I may be the only one that does this, but, when my children decide if they want to come if they are unhappy with their below a 70, they get their original test back, so they can see what and why they missed.
Okay.
We get out their notes and we sit there, and and if we get to the point where we say we have to make another test,
No.
I mean, I'm just saying, but if that becomes part of the policy, like, okay, I'm gonna give them a different test.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't want to, but
No,
I'm
ma'am.
giving back my test.
Yeah,
And I don't wanna change it.
Right, no ma'am. All we're talking about is the highest grade they can make. Okay, we're not gonna get in the weeds about give them a different, and that's up to you.
These babies got to start studying.
Right.
They got to take some ownership too.
Well, but let me say this to you. Let me say this to you. And I know we talk